Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more.
You won't believe this, but today's guest, Mitch Lippiatt, has been involved with the Man That Can project for coming up 4 years. That is incredible, and something that I am so grateful to have blokes and men who are sticking around in the Man That Can projects, academies, and just in the community because they know how much value there is to gain from it, value from networking with like-minded men, value from learning from other men who have experienced the same challenges and overcome them, value from our events, value from the tools and the conversations that are had even on the podcast like you're about to listen to today. So it's pretty cool to be able to have witnessed firsthand Mitch really make some significant leaps in the direction of his life and to actually start working towards creating the life that he is excited by, but more importantly, watching him develop into the man that he knows he can be and also needs to be to live that life. And that's what excites me most. So you're going to learn a heap about his story today, from being a butcher. We didn't get to talk about some heavy stuff in his life just because we spent so much time talking about other cool stuff. So he'll be back. He needs to be back. He's got some great other things to share as well that he didn't get to share today, but he also, we had some awesome conversations and there's some very, very helpful topics discussed that I know you'll get a ton of value. So definitely, if you have an opportunity to get your notepad out, get it out. Take notes, because when you reread your notes, it will change your life to see how you perceive things. Now, the Strong Men of Value Academy applications are open. We're having a ton. I've actually got to spend pretty much the whole day today on the phone calling applicants back, accepting most, declining a few, which is going to be awesome. But rather than me always talking about, I guess, the features of the Strong Men of Value, you can read that if it piques your interest. But think about this, right? Majority of the blokes who are part of the academy are actually guys who are doing well in their life. They may have great relationships. Their health might be awesome. They are going well with their career choice. But they have that feeling pitted in their gut that they can do more, that they're here to be more. And that's what they want. And by being a part of the academy, we're helping men do that. We're helping men to reach their potential, to take ownership through their life. And that starts by building a strong mind, and it starts by building a strong body. You learn so much through that process because it is a growth-focused process. Growth equals happiness. And that is why everything that we do, everything that I talk about, the people that we interview, the conversations that we have, the events that we have, always leads with action. Because if you aren't acting upon things, you won't change anything. But that's enough for me, gents. It is 4:52 Monday morning, and this episode is going out in 30 minutes, which I'm really excited about. Reason why I didn't get it done on Friday, I was in Sydney. Went down to Sydney, caught up with a few of our academy members down in Sydney at Coogee Beach, which was amazing and really good to put some, in-person bodies to the names. It's always good catching up with people down there. And then I watched my wife's last show down at Sydney Olympic Park. I can't remember what the exact stadium was down there, but it was great fun. So I missed out on a lot of sleep. Didn't drink again, so I'm stoked for that. But just the lack of sleep is still throwing me out. Anyway, nonetheless, No excuses. Let's dive into today's episode. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lockie Stewart. Let's get into it.
Mitchy,
Mate.
been a long time coming.
Yeah, mate, it has.
Welcome on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, bro, I'm very excited for this. And there's two people that I've really gained a lot of, or I've been so proud of coming on the show, yourself and also Jesse, for reasons for I've been able to watch you guys really turn your lives around and grow into fucking incredibly inspiring, ambitious and caring individuals. So to be able to have this conversation with you is going to be exciting today.
Oh, mate, I really appreciate you saying that, actually. Yeah, I was just thinking about the other day when I was starting off Function Well and you put up that photo of us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, 4 years ago is when I reached out to, maybe even a little bit more than that. 4 years ago is when I reached out to Matt Boyce and I was like, hey, man, I need some help. I'm struggling. Sent me your direction. And yeah, when I sent you that message or I applied for the Man That Can Facebook group and then you reached out, it was like, oh, this feels a bit, I don't even know if I'm like, if I belong here or whatever. But then over the course of the past 4 years, I've just felt more and more comfortable and more just, yeah, so much more settled with a lot of things because I feel like I've got that community in yourself and a lot of the blokes. I could put up a message in the group chats or whatever and say, hey, lads, like, you know, are you struggling with this or do you know about this or how about this? And you just know you're going to get a good response.
Yep.
And that's something that for me has always been a little bit distant in my life. So having that now, I cherish that and I respect that so much.
Cheers to fucking Boise. What a legend.
Bro, honestly, yeah. I remember I can't remember if it was last year, the year before. I was driving around through Grand Central and my ex at the time, she was just driving along. I'm just chilling in the passenger seat. And I see him there and all of a sudden I've just gone, stop. And I just jumped out of the car, and she's like, oh, what the fuck? And then, sorry, are you allowed to swear?
Yeah, man, swear straight at your heart's content.
And I jumped down, I closed the door. I was like, Boise. And he looked at me and goes, who are you? Because I had a beard and I didn't have a beard back then.
Yeah, right.
And I said, oh, it's Mitchell. He goes, oh, bro, what's going on? and the first thing he did, I've not seen for a couple of years, I missed the handshake. I missed it.
Acting real cool.
I was like, bro, what's going on? And I've just gone this big, like that.
Doesn't matter. Bring it in for the hug, man.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. It's been years since I've seen you.
Yeah, we can build on this.
Pretty much, yeah.
But take us back then. So one of the biggest challenges for a lot of blokes who are going through a tough trot is asking for help, or even one, more importantly, with who to ask for help. So you reached out to Boise. What was going on in your life in the lead up to that made you go, Boise, need some help, brother?
Well, before that, so I'll take it back a couple of years, and these are the things that all led up to where I was at in my life at that point. So at that point, I just broken up with my partner at the time, and it was a horrible, horrible toxic breakup. A lot of bad things happened, and when I was in that relationship, a lot of my friendships broke down, and a lot of the values and the.
What do you mean by they broke down? Like,
well, they weren't a fan of her, so I'd defend her and I'd, try and make sure that she was respected and things like that. And they were just like, we're not a fan.
Yep.
And then that ultimately led to a few friendship groups breaking down and fallouts and things like that, which thankfully since have been reconnected actually. So over the past few years, it's been good to build back those relationships, especially since being a part of the Man That Can project, like in those few months of getting amongst it. I definitely was looking around at like, okay, what do I value? And because I was looking at the pillars of momentum, and I was like, cool, I need to reach back out and apologize because I realized now I was in the wrong. And anyway, so
you were in the wrong with your mates. Sorry.
Yeah, I was. Because I couldn't see the bad traits at the time. Like I just saw
you were smitten.
I was smitten literally. And I was like, I just see the relationship, and looking back on it now, it's one of those massive learning hurdles. And now I know more about, obviously myself and what I will tolerate, what I will not tolerate, all that sort of stuff.
Was it hard for you to go back to the boys and be like, look, I'm sorry. Like, did you find that a hard process? Or did you just dive in and go, look, I want to rekindle these?
I actually just got in my car and drove to their house. And
That's
I just
awesome, man.
knocked on their door, and I remember one of my mates, I drove out to his place, and I just like hung up the front of his place, and I said, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, like why are you messaging me?" I said, "Oh, come out the front." And he got out there, and I was like, "Hey man, like I didn't want to do this over the phone," and we put water on the bridge like then and there, and it was all sweet, and we've been back to being close mates ever since, which was 4 years ago.
Were you nervous in it, like when you were driving over? What was going through your head?
So
Do you
nervous
remember?
because I'm one of those dudes who is super non-confrontational, but at the same time, I don't know, I want to make sure that I right the wrong, and I want to make sure that like if someone is, like if I did offend my mate, and I'm not going to forget about it. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, he'll be right.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, remember 6 years ago when I accidentally spilled your coffee? I am sorry. Like that's what I wanted to do. So that was really good to go back and rekindle those friendships and own up to the fact that I was like, I'm in the wrong. I was in the wrong, and I'm going to admit that, because I felt like I didn't want to go into the Man That Can project with this false sense of myself being like, I'm too cool for school or whatever. I'm going to go in there and act like I'm not in the wrong with a few things, or I haven't got my own, my own bad traits and characteristics. So I felt like that was a great thing for me to really start fresh and really just be myself, I guess.
I think that's a great thing you sort of allude to. And one of the most important things is one, dropping your fucking ego. Like we all have, myself included right now, and everyone's got stuff that we're still not doing well right now and we can improve on, and we probably should be doing better at, but we maybe have lazy areas, but also just owning that. Like the reason why a lot of people aren't where they want to be with their relationships, finances, health, anything, is purely the fact that they don't take responsibility for it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's
someone else's problem.
That's been the best thing to happen to me in actually the last, I want to say 6-7 months.
Yep.
The last 6-7 months have been probably the best growing time I've ever been, or maybe a little bit more than that, but it's been the best growth of my life that I've ever been exposed to. It's actually been the hardest 6-7 months plus of my life. The last, since I did my knee in January last year, so much of my life that I looked at as comfortable, as rock solid, like those things in life that you feel like are there forever.
Yep.
That it just was taken away. It was gone. And adapting to that was, really, really difficult. But
so just for everyone listening, like what can you talk us through? Are you comfortable talking through us? So everything that happened, obviously it was a push jerk that you fucked your knee on, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I did a clean and jerk, and I caught the barbell, and it was actually the last rep of the last exercise before I went home. And I was like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm going home. I've finished off this set and I'm out. Done skis, going home to chill for the night. And honestly, it was just that luck, and I caught it and I was like, something doesn't feel right here. Push press, and my left knee just caved in and it just folded like a toothpick, and the 100 kilograms was still above my head. And
you did well not to.
I know. Did I show the video?
Yeah, I have seen the video. Yes.
And I haven't seen it. I still haven't seen it, but everyone's like, you got so close to it hitting you on the foot or on the leg or something.
Well, you haven't even watched your own video.
No, I've not watched it.
I wasn't aware of that. We should do a reveal on here.
Honestly, I could. I honestly feel like it should be time, because it's been over 12 months. I probably should actually watch it.
Should we do it?
Yeah, I'll get my phone and I'll turn it back on, and I'm keen to see it. But yes, that's how the year started. This was on the 19th of January last year.
Yeah.
And then I went to hospital, and they're like, you dislocated your knee. You've like thrown everything out. It definitely is not moving well. I think they were moving it like that side to side. It just wasn't at all right. Straight away, they put me on a machine that had to, it's like an ultrasound machine that made sure that my blood was flowing.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, disrupted. So my artery like going, it was like, it just wasn't flowing like a regular heartbeat. There was some concern. It wasn't enough concern to warrant to go straight to surgery.
Yep.
So 6 months later.
6 months later.
6 months later. I'm
Why
still
no urgency?
I'm not too sure. I think because they put me on what's called a category 2. So category 1 was like, get him in there now. Category 2 was like, okay, he's in like a 90-day, but ended up being more than 90 days, 90-day wait list for the surgery. But in that time, because I'd hurt myself, I was kind of in like a bit of a like, it'll be right, a couple of weeks, I'll shake it off, back to training. But I was off work for 2 weeks, barely walk, so much pain. It was so painful. And then ended up getting back to work and still was limping for another month or so after that. And it wasn't for like another 4 or 5 months that I was actually able to start squatting and do things again, because the surgeon was like, you need to keep your quad strong to do that. In that time, because I couldn't train, because I couldn't do my regular routine, I started getting really emotional. Things would just irritate me more and more. I could not take any criticism. Like I was just really emotional, just not a good person to be around, which led to a lot of other shit happening in the year. Did get the surgery finally, and it kind of went okay. They said like, everything went pretty well. The only problem was on my interior meniscus, I split it in half. So they're like it might not heal because of scar tissue properly and because of blood flow. So
gotcha.
It's been nearly 12 months and I'm still having a lot of issues with it. So it's just all about a waiting game and getting stronger. After that, because of where I was trying to be positive, trying to be all sweet. And then, it was just hard being stuck on the couch for like 6 weeks, like could not do anything, leg up, propped up.
Yeah, well, you're a pretty active bloke, so to be sitting on your ass for 6 weeks.
That's right. And that's what threw me off so bad. Like I was just like put in front of the TV, and the relationship I was in at the time, it was not good, because like she was going to work, she was coming home, and I was just on the couch. I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm like, hey, I need help upstairs. I need help going to the shower. I need help to go to the toilet. Like, can you help me out? And it was just a big ask on her.
Yeah, definitely.
And anyway, so about a month later, I was at work and I was on my crutches still. And I was just at work and I was like, man, I really feel like I've got this really bad sharp pain in my left lung. It's really bad. Like I'm really uncomfortable here. And I spent the rest of the morning like at work until about 11 o'clock. Went home and I was like, oh man, I'm like trying to stretch it out, thinking like I pulled something like an intercostal. Right. Anyway, I text my mum who works in the hospital and she goes, oh, just call the ambulance, just get them to come around.
It sounds super chilled in how she delivered that. Yeah,
she's so chill. She's from Bedezet, so like,
call the ambulance. You could be dying.
Should be right.
Yeah.
They came around and they're like, oh, you might just have like a kidney infection. I was like, oh, too easy, done. Went to the hospital and they did a bit of blood work and they're like, oh, we might get you in for an X-ray and an ultrasound on your lungs. Eventually, they found out that I'd had 6 blood clots. So 6 had formed, 2 big ones had formed in my leg and they'd broken off into little pieces. And what had happened was
that as a result of the surgery? Yeah.
Because I wasn't moving my quad. I wasn't moving my leg at all. It just built up this
pinky
of blood. And
movement saves lives.
Bro, it so does. Like my physio was like, try and move your quad, even just like just picture that's my leg. Just doing that. It's just my leg. He's like, just do that. Like just even if you can, just move your quad some way and it'll help. And I did like best I can, but like you do it for like an hour and you're like, what do I do the rest of the day? Boring as fuck. And then, so I was in hospital for a night and then, so I'd had what's called a pulmonary embolism, which means you get the blood clots in the lungs, but they pass through the heart to go to the lungs. And then what happened was because there was like rotten blood in the lungs, it caused a pulmonary infarction, which means that part of my lung tissue all died.
Yeah.
So all down the bottom of my lungs, so I have both lungs, all the bottom of my lungs had rotted.
So when that died, can that rejuvenate?
Yeah. Over time it does, like whatever.
Cool.
I was talking to one of the blokes at work the other day. I think I was talking to Jesse about it, and trying to like go up the stairs was like I was a heavy smoker. Yeah. Because I had like such a reduced lung capacity for this little while, and it was so painful. It was so bad. I ended up having probably the most painful night I've ever had in hospital. It's almost like someone got rubber bands and just put it around your lungs like multiple times.
Yeah, right.
And there was one night I woke up and my partner, she put the nursing call button like up there, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I was like, oh, I'm in so much pain. And I tried to like reach it. I was like,
help me.
Help. I couldn't like get the air out of my lungs to call for help. It sounds ridiculous.
That's dangerous, bro.
It was bad. I was probably in that position from about 10:30 at night to maybe 4 a.m, because they just didn't come past and check. Everyone was sleeping soundly. Everything was all sweet. There was no fuss. And And
Meanwhile, you're on fucking struggle street.
mate,
Can't
I
reach
was
your
like
buzzer.
proper, just like in tears. I was like laying there. I was just kind of like trying to do something, but I couldn't lift my leg because my leg was so sore from surgery, and it was just a bad time. It was a shit night, eh? And then they got up. They came past in the morning. Probably wasn't Friday. Probably like 3:30, something like that. They came past and they were like, "How you going?" I'm like, I need help. I need help." And then they brought me in some like OxyContin and like put me to sleep like
cool.
that. I was like,
It might have been jelly and custard or something.
yeah. Oh no, if it was jelly and custard, take that back.
Yeah,
I don't
give
want
me
that.
OxyContin.
Fuck off. But yeah, that was the next thing that happened. So that was the next thing I was dealing with was the blood clots.
Yep.
So being on the blood clots, being on the blood thinners after that, mixed with the OxyContins, mixed with like the other Tajan 10s for the lung pain. It was just a lot. And I was like so spaced out. I was like a heroin addict for like 3-4 weeks.
Nice.
And it was just like, it was a proper bad time. Ended up getting back to work finally because I started putting like weight on my leg.
Yep.
And that's when another like set of problems arose, was the fact that my leg had been propped up in a brace for 6 weeks with no movement just about. It was really bad. So the scar tissue had enough time to form in a way that the knee wasn't bending properly. Like it was having a long time to get to around to that point where it could bend. And it was so painful, like really painful. And then it took like, I went to the physio every Friday, and he was supposed to do a lot of work with the quad and the calf and all this sort of stuff. And I'm doing a lot of work with just the kneecap, just trying to like massage the kneecap around.
Yeah.
So there was plenty of times where I was laying in the bed and I would have another physio holding my leg in place, another physio just trying to like push my kneecap over because it was just so pulled over and locked in this other place that wasn't right. So it was breaking up the scar tissue and helping movement along and things like that. It was proper effed. It was really, really painful. And then over the course, so even now, 8-10 months past the surgery, even doing squatting and things like that, it's still pretty heavy going. But getting into the end of the year, all that accumulation of bad mental health and being emotional and being angry, just being a really bad person to be around, was what I now know led to my relationship breakdown. So I massive reflections on that. And that was one of the big pinnacle things that happened last year that started this hard 6-7 months that I've been going through of growth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that.
How did you feel during the relationship breakdown and stuff? Because it is one of the biggest reasons why men take their life by suicide is relationship breakdown. And I was even chatting with a bloke this morning around a similar thing. And relationships mean more to us blokes, and we're probably even aware because we often try to act not too interested or whatever it is. We don't understand our emotions a great deal. But then when we lose a relationship, it's like a fucking hole's being punched through us.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. To go back to your first question, I believed at the time, I was like, you deserve better. I'm shit. I'm
poor me.
Literally, I was like, I'm not good enough to be a boyfriend. Like I'm not the man I used to be.
Yep.
You deserve better. And it was a fucking toxic mindset to be in because I went out of that relationship, which at the time I thought was going to be like forever.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, yep, cool. Like I'm free of that now. Like I can focus on me.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the case. And then, so after the relationship breaking down and I was on my own for a couple of months was when I was like, I never knew how much I valued that until now. So, yeah.
Yeah. And what advice would you have given to yourself back when you're in that? And obviously the events and everything that had led to that point really make it easy to fall into a slump of even that negative mindset like you were in. What advice do you wish you had back then?
I think just to have a good long look in the mirror and ask yourself, like, do you honestly think you're showing up? Do you honestly think you're coming to the party? And if you say yes, then you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like to sit there and think like you were doing enough. It wasn't enough, nowhere near. And that's been one of the best things that I've learned since then is being like, hang on, I don't actually like who I'm being. I don't like the way that I'm presenting myself to the world. I need to change that. I need to change the way that I talk, like, because I've was in that mindset since the accident to that point. So like nearly 8 months. And I was like, I feel like I've just taken on this new identity where I'm not myself anymore.
Yep.
And I had to try and be like, okay, cool. Like I recognize that now. Who was I before that? And let's get back to that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you adopt you're a product of your environment, right? You
Mm.
fall into this place where you can't exercise, which was obviously something that was extremely important to you. You weren't necessarily working. You were dealing with a lot of pain. So a lot of the time your mindset's in this negative feedback loop. There's
Yeah.
nothing that, gives you the endorphin rush that you're looking for. Maybe I don't know if you had people coming around to check on you and hang out and stuff like that. But I think one of the most important things for people to realize in that moment is what you maybe love doing, your first choices and everything is not available to you. But if you still have the standards as an individual, what could you now do in your current situations to uphold that? For me, and obviously I haven't been bedridden for that many days, but I think about this all the time. Like if I were to lose, end up with not being able to walk or all these sorts of things, I understand how it would ruin your life, but you also adjust to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're still so fortunate. So what can I do in my current situations to even add value to the relationship, to add value to myself? And that's where a lot of blokes have just lost the fucking ability to problem solve.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Problems are coming at you every fucking day. Sometimes they're more significant than others, but your ability to respond to them and to overcome them is going to give you a better quality of life. But you're also having the experience that you've had now is going to help you as you continue to move forward with your life.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because at the time I was kind of like I was sitting around, I was kind of like, if I ignore these problems, then it's not going to be an issue. Like if I ignore the fact that
the old emu tactic,
head in the sand, I was like, got a call from my boss. Hey man, your holiday pay is about to run out. Oh, sorry, your sick pay is about to run out. I'm gonna start chewing into your holiday pay. Is that cool? Yeah, man, whatever. There's dishes there. Cool. I'm not gonna worry about them.
Yeah.
There's a problem there that I could have been like, you know what, I can do online coaching from home. I could do more reading. I could do something. I could, put the laundry in front of me. I'll fold that.
Yep.
But I was sitting there all day and I was just kind of like, fuck this, man. Why would I even try? Why would I even care? So I put my head in the sand, and that's where I think that's where I really went wrong, really badly, was just that ignorance and just ignoring and just being immature about it all.
Yep.
And I look back on it now and I'm just kind of like, man, fuck you. Like, why would you do that? You're so much better than that. Like you have been through so much to get to that point, to survive so much that you get to that point and you let that just be the defining moment where you're like, you know what? I've gotten the news that I'm going to be fine. Like it's not a major thing. I'll get back to where I was eventually. Mm-hmm. But for now, it sucks. And I'm living in this sucky little bubble.
But it is the defining moment as well, though, because here's what happens. And I've been through it multiple times, because I always think about, why the fuck do we need to hit a rock bottom in order to be like, okay, I've got two options. I can crash and burn, or I can rise, rise from the ashes, so to speak. And for me, I had so many events, and as I'm sure you did in the lead up, where it was like, wake up to yourself, wake up to yourself, wake up to yourself. And I was just like, no. And then the big one comes. And then what then happened is I started working on myself. And when you get a few positive wins on the board, you go, cool, I can stop focusing on that. Now life's good. Yep. And what happens for most people is they build a bit of momentum, they drop off. Build a bit of momentum, drop off. And what is so important for blokes to realize is that whatever the habits that you are implementing that are going to help you improve your life. So for yourself, it's the reading, it's the habit, networking with great people, it's exercise, obviously, when you can, and doing all these kinds of things. You don't fucking stop doing that.
No. Yeah.
Just like you brushing your teeth, just because you've got a nice set of fucking chompers there, you don't stop brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
You'll lose it.
Yeah.
And that's where that's why so many people aren't in momentum and their life isn't quite where they want it to be, because they just fucking can't hold it together. It's like, do less, but focus on the right things and you'll be fucking killing it.
Literally. Like that's the whole, like, to put that in a good little metaphor. So I'm not going to come out of...
I love metaphors.
Oh, bro, so much. So like to come out of my surgery and be like, cool, let's go squat again is not going to be how you do it. It's going to be more about the little things, building up the little quad muscles and building up the
hamstrings or adductors.
Hamstrings, adductors, like abductors, building up the calves, building up the tibialis. Those little things that I'm going to build up to create a big macro result, you know, to get a big compound result. Literally what you're just saying. So like you haven't got to be trying to fill your plate and overload yourself. You can bring it on back and focus on one thing or two things at a time, because like that compounding issue we were just talking about, it's going to build up. It's going to have a big reward. It's going to yield a good result, And I think I was trying to get to a point where I think I expected myself to get back to where I wanted to be sooner. And when it wasn't, that's when I was just kind of like,
But yeah, and this is where mindset is so important. I always think about people. I helped a lady once. She was 170 odd 80 kilos, and we got her down to 140.
Oh, nice.
Which is awesome. But what I wasn't aware of at that time was the mindset. So she still had the mindset of someone who was 180 kilos, right?
Yep.
So the way she thought about herself, the way she viewed herself, the way she acted and even fed herself was of that person. So we were constantly fighting a battle. And it's the same with training. It's the same with new relationships. You compare to what once was. And that's why mindset is the most fundamental pillar in where you're going to be in your life. So as you get back into training and stuff, at least you've got the awareness now to go, hey, look, I need to take this slow and slowly build up. And here's going to be maybe some milestones along the way until I can get back to where I was. Tick those milestones off. I'm fucking off to the races.
Yeah, literally.
And you got to shift your beliefs. You know, it's as I've gone through from a footy player to a CrossFitter now to running. It's like, okay, well, my training's different. And when I get under the barbell now, I'm fucking weak as piss in comparison to how I was as
I saw you
a CrossFitter.
80 kilograms the other day, like it was nothing.
Yeah, but like in comparison, you know what I mean? So in my head, I'm like, 80 kilos is fucking ridiculous. Like I used to be 130, 140.
Yeah.
But I also got to put it into context. It's like, that's not my focus. That's not my goal. This is why. So to still have a baseline of that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it's then, having simple things in your life that can remind you of that. Once again, it could be the goals that you have. It could be the affirmations. It could be your daily intentions that continue to bring you back to what's important. So you don't allow the ego to jump ahead. When you do get under the barbell again, you go, fuck, man, last time I was doing 140, crack, there goes my back.
There goes something else, Yeah. Talking about like what you find important and all that. I was training. We were talking about this morning. Not last year, the year before. I was training CrossFit and I was doing like 2 sessions a day, like 2.5 sessions a day. I was training for like 3 or 4 hours. I was like, I want to compete. I want to get really good. I really, really love this.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was taking up so much of my mental health and like all my own time, my relationship time, because I was working the split shift at my last job, which was terrible. And so I train in the morning, have a couple hours at home, sacrifice time with my partner to go back to the gym and train again, and then work that night, get home late, and then she'd be in bed, and then I'd come home, make some dinner, have a bed, whatever. So that was what I felt.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I found that important. Like that was like the most important thing to me at the time. Take me through that 6 months, 8 months of really rigorous, proper, just mind-numbing training, right? I get to the end of it. I get to last year in January, snap, knees done, training's done. So all of a sudden I found that so important. I've neglected so much. All of a sudden now I'm not thinking, okay, what's important now? This person helping me out at home, or my family, or my friends, or my anything to do with not training. All I could think about was, I want to get back to training. I can't wait to get back to training. I hate that I'm missing out on training. So it was such a thing where I didn't know what I was finding important, and I was finding the wrong things important too.
Yeah. Well, it's all contextual though. So training is a big part of my life. It's still a big part of your life. And we were talking about it. Like I used to do 4 hours a day for fucking 3 to 4 years. And like, there was moments where I couldn't fucking get my dick hard because I was so fried. Like, and it was impacting my relationship. It was impacting how I thought about myself and all these other sorts of things. But it's why we always talk about the 8 areas of life, because most blokes, it's for status and career. That's what they focus on, and they sacrifice all the other stuff. For you and for me, to a degree, it's been training. Right? You sacrifice everything else. Even when you get home, like you said, you're thinking about training. You're not being present, and you can have priorities. We all should have priorities. For me, it's my own health and well-being first, because I know once I've got that in order, everything else will flow. Then it's my wife, my family. My business is fucking probably 5 or 6.
Okay.
Right. But just because it's lower doesn't mean that it's not important to me. It just means, okay, well, when I'm with my wife, fucking boom. And if I'm running short on time in the day, she's my priority. And it didn't always used to be like that, but it was when I started to think about like, all right, well, work is awesome, but am I going to look back when I'm, on my deathbed going, fuck, I'm glad I put in those hours? No, I'm so, and this has only been a recent shift for me too. But it's then going, okay, well, I can have all these priorities. Business is important. This is important. This is important. So now the challenge is now that I schedule it in my week, how do I learn to be present while I'm there?
Yep.
That's the biggest challenge that I've got and what I'm even focused on for the next game plan. Because all of them are important. All of them add fulfillment to my life. All of them offer the opportunity for growth, which is exciting. But now it's just like learning to switch between them when I'm there.
Yeah. Put that different hat on for each one.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I remember last year when I was not last year, before. I keep thinking last year, like whenever I say last year, I feel like
COVID's made it like a time warp.
Fuck me right up. I still feel like I'm in last year. Like I'm like, oh,
we're still 21, bro.
Literally, honestly. I wish. Fucking in 2020, I was training so much because it was definitely a mindset thing where I was like, I don't feel like I'm viewed well. I don't feel like I'm viewed as like I don't know if it sounds stupid to say, but I feel like I'm like respected by people around me. That's why I took on such a rigorous training program, because I was like, if I can go and compete, then I can make more friends with CrossFitters. I can go and my partner will find me more attractive, and I'll have more accolades to attribute to my family's bragging rights at their dinner parties or whatever. So that was one thing that I put so much emphasis on, that I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be the solution to everything else. And when I put all my eggs in one basket and the basket had a fucking hole in the bottom of it,
you're fucked.
I was so fucked. And I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to be like, okay, cool. What can I still do, as I said before, to sharpen other areas to make sure that I'm still being a good partner, a good friend, a good son, whatever. I just was focusing on that one thing because I still thought it was the one thing that was going to get me all the love and get me all the likes on Instagram. Yeah.
And this is the thing that I wish every bloke, even if you're listening to this, blokes out there, like we all are capable. And this is why we do so many challenges, right? Because if you can push yourself, and whether it's through, I think if there's an external driver, like what you mentioned there, and it gets you to take action to be better, it in essence can be healthy, right? Obviously, they talk about conspicuous consumption, which is in terms of buying things, but for you, it could be validation, where you're doing things to impress others, right? It's a zero-sum game. You're always going to be doing something and someone else is going to be stronger, faster, have a better beard. Like you beat me with the beard there. And, so where we need to come from is I'm driven and I'm highly competitive. I love recognition, but I also make sure that the things that I'm choosing to do validate me internally. It's like, I'm fucking proud of myself for doing a run. I don't give a fuck if you guys ran a road a faster time, even though he's all cheeky. Yeah, I don't.
He came up and you were like,
yeah,
fucking beat me.
I know. But I'm still content in challenging myself. I learn a lot. And that's where I feel us as blokes need to go. So when that one thing gets taken away from us, whether it's your career, people get made redundant and all that sort of stuff all the time, or your marriage may break down or whatever it is. It's like, okay, that is sad. You can definitely mourn, you can be upset, but that's not all of who you are. You've got so much more to offer. And if you don't start trying to figure that out until it's going to be so much harder, because you're in a heightened emotional state, right? You're going to be fucking upset, furious. It's hard to go, oh, there's some good things into me. You've fallen into that victim mentality. As you did. Whereas if you're doing it now and things are going well, it's much easier to go, all right, that fucked up. Awesome. What can I learn from that? How do I need to process it? Boom. On to the next one. It's not that easy, obviously, but here now I can focus on, if my ankle's broken, I can train upper body and I can read more, or I can practice podcast, whatever it is. You've got more feathers in the bow. What is it? More?
What, arrows in the quill?
Yeah, that sounds right. I was like, feathers in the bow. I was like, is it feathers in the cap? And it definitely is feathers in the cap.
Something to do with feathers.
But I was like, feathers are on the back of a bow sometimes, like an arrow.
I feel like sometimes whenever I go to like make a saying or go throw like an analogy out there, I'll screw it up in some weird ways. Go, oh yeah, you know what? It's just that many gallons of milk in a jug, like that many hairs on a head. I'll just say something stupid and I'll be like walking away the rest of my day. I'm just like, I fucked up.
But at least you're having a dig. That's amazing.
That's right, dig, bro. That's right. It's like I was just saying before with Boise when I missed that handshake. Like the rest of the day, I was just kind of like,
own it. Oh, fuck me, dude. It happens all the time now. Look, I just tongue-tied myself, but now because I fist pump a heap of people, but then also go to the high five. So now you don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes they fist pump and high five, and it's just like a closed fist or hug, and there's so many awkward, funny moments.
It is, but I feel like it's so like meta now. Everyone looks at me, everyone's just like, "Hey, like got you good, 1-0. Like just play it off." Definitely one of the biggest fears of my day or my life is screwing up that guy meeting, because you kind of like, I I'm just going to go home now. I'm just going to call in sick for the rest of the day. I'm not coming back to work.
It's a serious worry for blokes.
It is, bro. Like I was actually thinking about this today. So, when I first met you in Toombul, when I came down for that, do you remember?
Yeah. Fucking oath.
Wait,
but let's put, so you were supposed to come to a men's circle I was running in Toowoomba,
Yes.
and then, you know, you invited a few of your mates.
Yeah.
And they all showed up, but you didn't come.
I didn't come because I prioritized something else because I felt like,
You didn't like me.
no, God, no. I actually was fucking terrified. I'll be honest. I was terrified. Driving down to Toowoomba that night, I was terrified. I was actually just kind of like, who am I going to meet? They're going to be so much fucking cooler than I am. I'm going to be that guy in the corner who doesn't know anyone. Serious like fear. I was just driving the whole way down and I was like sweating and I was like really like getting my heart rate up. I was trying to like blast some screamo music to like drown it out. But I remember that night because James O'Donoghue, remember meeting him, like he came and
he's doing some serious triathlons
he's
now.
such a beast,
What a
honestly.
weapon.
And
Good
he's
on him.
so committed to his diet with being a vegan.
Is he vegan?
He's
Is he?
all vegan.
Yeah, right. Is
And-
that for performance reasons? Or?
Sorry. Bit of performance,
Yeah.
And
And you're a bloody ex-butcher.
I am an ex-butcher, and he was
Right,
my
we'll
client
dive
for a
into
long
that
time.
shortly too.
Yeah, I'm keen to talk about that too. But when I remember when him and I were training together, so I think at my heaviest I was about 101.5.
What are you
maybe
now, just for those watching on YouTube?
96 now, not about
Yeah,
96.
5 kegs shy
Five
of it.
kegs. But it's a lot better weight now. It's
Yeah.
like back then it was just like all powerlifting weight. Like I felt like I was like a unit, but I'm really just a fat fuck.
So you call him powerlifters fat fucks?
No, God,
Sammy,
no,
if you're
It's
listening
just
to
me.
this, he
Sorry,
called
bro.
you a fat fuck.
All right, I know the next fight night won't be between Brett and Wes.
Yeah,
me and Sam.
fucking you and Slammer.
he'll stretch out that weight category. Goes Mitch fits in no matter what. Like
Yeah.
get him in there. Get
From
him on
90
the card.
kilos to
125
125 or whatever.
125. So yeah, with James, he would thrash me in so many areas. Like I would still have him in strength and barbell and whatever, but pull-ups, pistols, running, rowing, burpees, like anything that was not going to be barbell or dumbbell heavy kettlebell related, he'd crush me.
Yep.
So when it came to all these workouts we'd do, I'd go in there with this kind of like expectation of like, I eat meat, it's going to be sweet, you're a vegan, whatever. Let's put it to the test.
Yeah.
And we'd had
All
our,
the
like,
vegans who
all
are
the-
listening to this are fucking disliking you,
Just-
but you
yeah.
got a beard, so
So
you're
I
fine.
got a beard. I'm an ex-butcher. That like it's in the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so with James, yeah, that was I don't even know like how that tangent started, but I think
Neither
we're
do I,
talking
but
about
good.
he came that night. Yeah, so James came and he told me the next day about how good it was, and I was regretting it for the next like 3 weeks. Like I should have gone. And then I think the next one you did up in Toowoomba, I was busy that night and I was like, oh, fuck's sake. So when the one in Brisbane and Toowoomba came on, I was committed, even though like I was like, you know what, from Toowoomba to Brisbane to go for this couple of hour thing, I am going to be there. Like I've not shown up so many times. I'm not going to do it this time. And when I got down there and met you, and we went for a beer afterwards, I was sitting there, man. My leg was just like tapping away. I was just like under the table, just like going nuts and going bananas. And I was like, holy fuck, like, oh, I'm so like out of my element here. Like, am I being perceived okay? Like, am I saying the right things? And I was so fucking worried that's just how I was stressing that first night compared to the Toowoomba night. Went away that night when we had a chat, when we had a walk through the shopping center. And I left that night, I was just kind of like, fuck was I worried about? Like, that was just the most chillest, calmest, coolest conversation ever. Just talking about shit and shit.
Yeah,
so good.
Shit.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, exactly.
Mm.
But it's thanks for sharing that as well, because I think we all experience, myself included, whenever I even, to be honest, even before I meet with a client, before I met with you, I did some prep earlier just because I'm always want to be prepared.
Yeah.
Like before I see clients to do breath work, because my head just goes, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if I'm perceived? Yeah, all these fears of judgment and criticism and everything roll through my head. And obviously I'm aware enough to go that that's just my mind being a little bitch. I don't want to listen to it, because everything that's good, all the good things that I've I guess created in my life have come from the fact that I've just put myself out there and had a crack, right? And you exactly what you did there. Like, even though you were like, I'm coming down, you had a good 2 hours. So Toowoomba is like hour and a half, 2 hour drive. So you had a good fucking drive to really enjoy being in your head, which would have been fun.
It was,
you could have turned around at any point as well. So to rock up was awesome, and to hang around and then drive back. I still remember that night, because I was like, literally, it wasn't even like a big workshop. It was just purely a quite small one, and everything like that. And you drove all that way. I was like, this dude's a fucking legend. Like, because there's people who live 10 minutes away who bail on shit like that. So for me, it's like that's what one of the qualities I love about yourself is your work ethic and your commitment, right? And Jesse's very much the same as well. And I'm always inspired by people who fucking go above and beyond, because you really remind me a lot of myself, really, in the fact that when I was trying to sort my shit out, I had no money. I had no mentors. I didn't feel like I belonged in any circles. So driving 2 hours or somehow finding $300 to go to an event where I could mingle with these people was me building myself up, and it got me to where I am today. And I still do these things. Whereas a lot of people go, no, I can't afford that, or it's a 2 hour drive, I can't do that. I got to work tomorrow. Make all these excuses up, and it's the reason why they stay stuck. And it's one, I can completely understand why they're there, and I can empathize with that. But if you want to change your fucking life, you got to change your actions.
Yeah, that's it. And that's something that I remember listening. We went to the retreat last year where we did the ice baths.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
It was so good.
I was watching videos of that the other day. Yeah.
I saw a photo the other day, and I was just kind of like,
I think you were actually in one of the.
I am, yeah. I got the big love handles there. Yeah. Right, it's so good. I'm like, that's me. That's how I introduced myself. I'm like, hey, you see that guy there? That's me, guys. Driving down that day, I remember listening to a podcast, and I think I spoke to you about it, not that day, a different day, but you were talking to someone about how the things you've done to get to where you are. You're like, I went and spent, let's just say, like $200,000 on all this education, learning how to build yourself up to the man you are today, to run the Man That Can project in the absolute best way. You get someone to be like, hey, this next week thing is X amount of dollars. It's like, say, 500. And you're like, it's a bit expensive. You're getting like that $200,000 investment for $500.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, I nearly just looked at myself in the mirror and was just like, you are going to take advantage of that. You are going to take advantage of that because that is such a good point of view that someone's gone out there and built themselves up with all the expenses that it took without it being a problem.
Yep.
And I was, because I remember I even said it in COVID, because I remember me and my partner, we just lost our jobs. And when you came up with that thing, and I was like, oh, it's a bit expensive. And then I was like, fuck, that's the sort of mindset I didn't want to do anymore. I just didn't want that anymore, because I was like, that's not who I want to show up as.
Yep.
I want to be that someone who comes to a party and drives for 2 hours to a 10-minute event or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't 10 minutes.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just on a roll
that
there.
Fucking sounds real bad, but yeah, sorry.
So I was just on a roll. I wanted to be the guy who showed up, and that's a massive driving force that has been pushing me to where I am now. To take it back, like I only feel like I've actually only just become my own person in the last 7-8 months.
I believe, mate, the best thing you ever did was move down to Brisbane.
It has been. It's been such a good thing. And to go through everything leading up to it, to like where I'm now, like I know for a fact a couple of years ago, I would never have had the confidence to go and work in a place like Function Well, and put myself out there to meet new people, to go and talk to people. It would have always just been the whole like, oh, I'll let it come to me. I won't put that work in, which actually really disappoints myself, because of like my years as a butcher was like really where I bloody shone with my work ethic. Like I got so much to thank for my butchering years with my work ethic and what I like to be perceived as a worker. That is now where I'm going to be like really reflecting that like 12, 15 hour day that, so like how high can I jump for you? Like all that sort of stuff,
It's cool. And for anyone who wants to have a fucking great dining experience, go to a fucking steak pub with Mitchie. We were there last week or the week before.
Week before, yeah.
And you were, as a butcher, as a butcher, you're like, mate, get the strip line.
Yeah.
Game changer. And you're telling me, oh, no meat hangs off, all this stuff that I'd never really considered. And I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. The nicest bit of steak.
I was sitting with a picture on my phone of the diagram of the cow, and you and Gardy were talking, and I was just sitting there just like, as soon as it's breaking this conversation, I'm going to shove this in his face. And he knows what I'm talking about.
This is where it is.
This is where it is, by the way. And it's like connective tissue. This is why this happens. Yeah. I was just so excited to talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, man, it was awesome. Like, I highly recommend going for dinner with you just to learn about you're plenty of other great stuff to talk about, but learning about steak and like parts on that was a dining experience. It was like my own beef sommelier. What would you? Oh, it's amazing.
Perfect way to say it. Yeah, beef connoisseur.
I loved it.
Yeah, I love talking about meat now, because when I was in butchering, it's kind of like what's that sort of like saying where you don't know like what you're in, like you don't really appreciate it,
what it is until it's gone.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So when I was in butchering, like I was surrounded by meat, like day in, day out. Like I was doing probably about 60 to 70 hours a week every week. And that was just fine. Like I was so set in the ways then that now that I'm like, I have all this knowledge and someone asked me about meat, I'm like, let's talk about let's really converse and let's talk deep about this. Even like not even just about things like steaks, like chops and different cuts and the
you
things
should
you can
your
do.
own podcast.
I would love to do my own podcast on butchering. Just like I actually, so I got
you wouldn't butcher it.
Oh no. You said last week on the day, on the King of Puns, and that was right on the money.
I'm on there.
So I've got two really good accolades that I love to associate my butchering career with. So one, without sounding too high on my horse,
own it, bro.
I was responsible for bringing the meat standards that Vietnam has. So what happened was I was working at my butcher shop back in Warwick, and what happened was they're like, we're going to bring in these Vietnamese agricultural leaders, and they want to know how Australians do butchering, because over in Vietnam they literally just have it all out on the table, and they'll kill the animal on the table there. They'll gut it, they'll skin it all on the table, and the people come along and be like, that a kilo, they'll get a knife, cut a kilo out, and you have a kilo of meat. Doesn't matter if it's a rump, round, silver side, knuckle, whatever. They get a kilo of meat. That's their meat. It's all the same price too. Like it's like
that's epic.
Whatever it is. They came over to Australia and like, we need to learn better meat standards, better meat quality. So they came over, and my boss was like, I don't know if I could deal with this. You deal with it, Mitch. So there's about 20 of them, 20 of these Vietnamese ambassadors who came over, and they had a...
was there a language barrier?
There was a translator there.
Oh, cool.
But it was so shit, because you'd cut a piece of meat and be like, this is the rump. This is the rump.
Yeah.
And this is the way I do it. This is the way you do it. So it took so long. But yeah, so basically I took them through how to do a full body of beef from paddock to plate. Did the whole thing.
How long does that take though to do paddock to plate?
So
for an experienced man like yourself.
So probably a week. A couple of days. Not as long as people think, because it takes maybe a day and a half to 2 days to obviously do the process of it all, then let it hang in the fridge.
So drain it.
A little blood drain out of it. But it's also about hardening up the meat. And there's another important part of it. So when obviously a cow is, as a cow, it's on like a right angle. But when you see a hindquarter in a butcher shop, it's hanging vertical. So they've got to cut a tendon, and they've got to bring it around. And obviously it's really tight. So they've got to really manipulate the loin, obviously the center part of the body, to come down and hang. So they're going to like really let that hang there and let gravity do its work. And then when it comes into butcher shop, the meat fibers, they're all vertical. They're all in the way that we know meat today. Because if you ever see like a tender stretch piece of, a tender stretch is when they hang like that. So if you see a rump steak cut like that, you'll have no idea what it is. You're like, what the fuck is this long ass 3 feet piece of thing? Like it's so different to what you see and perceive a rump steak to be.
Gotcha.
So yeah, they got to do that. But anyway, back to the story. So did the full paddock to plate with the Vietnamese ambassadors. Then we did pork, and then we did lamb, chickens, fish, and then we did value adding. And sausages, sorry, and then value adding. So things like doing rolled rib roast, so how to sew meat, how to net meat, how to corn and cure silver sides and other things like that, how to pickle things, and all like the sort of jargon that really associates with that. Then it was all about how to display meat, so how to cut against the grain and in a certain way. So if you have a left-hand side of the beef or the right side of the beef, you don't cut them and lay them the same way, because the way that the meat angles will be different. So you got to identify what side of the beast that this cut of meat is on, or this chop is on. So you got to lay it that way. So I had to take them through the entire process of all that, and it took a week and a bit. Got to the end of that, and they were all like, we want to offer you a full 2 to 3 week holiday over in Vietnam. You can go over there, all expenses paid. And you can come over and teach all of our factory workers how to do all the what you just told us.
Far out.
So did all that, and they were recording me the whole time. Like they were videoing me, and they were taking all these notes and things like that. And they took it all back, and then did all that sort of shit. But it got to the time when I was going to go, and my boss at the time goes, "I think I should go." It's 100 right-handed guy. He goes, "I think I should go. It's kind of my business, and I think I should go." And I was like, "What?" I spent a week and a half with these guys, like really putting a lot of passion into this, because this is my job, and then to take this back, and I want them to remember me and remember this. oh, so yeah, he ended up going instead of me. But they took all of that back from what I taught them.
Yep.
And all the videoing, all that sort of stuff. He just went over there and taught the butchers how to do it. So
Yep.
one of those things. So I love the fact that I was be able to be represented when it come to Australian meat standards and take it back to Vietnam. So
It's epic.
yeah, it was a very, very good experience. And I must have been offered like 150 wives at the time, hey, because they're like, are you single? Like, yeah, I'm single. They're like, well, here's my sister, here's my aunt, here's my daughter, here's my
So that's
whatever.
probably what the whole trip was about.
Literally about finding some good Australian white man. It was such a good experience. But the second accolade I have, so our butcher we had at the time, young fella, he went on to win the Australian Young Butcher. He won the best young butcher in Australia. He called me up one night and he's in this competition. He goes, bro, I need you to help me out. Like, what do I do? He told me what was on. So it was a big display cabinet. He goes, how do I do it? I'm freaking out. So I said, hey man, put this here, put that there, do this here, do this here. He put it on there and it won. And for my recommendation,
wins it.
and I was like at home, and I remember I was like watching on social media, and I was just like,
that's my prize.
I love it.
Bring that medal home.
fucking love it. So
That's awesome.
he ended up winning a full scholarship to go and butcher in Russia for like 2 years. I think he only just got back. I think.
It's gnarly.
Yeah, he was like living.
Butchering is like a fair income industry.
It is. It's actually what I'm going to use as my thing when I go traveling eventually. I want to go do butchering over in Canada because like Australian butchering is considered one of the top in the world. So to go over there and do that and say that you're an Australian butcher is good.
That's epic. And what, like, now that you're obviously flying with your directional life, you're studying film, you're working out of Function World, doing some training, doing some great training. What's next for you? Like, what's on the horizon?
I think now with those two things, I know that I can, how do I best put this? Like with Function Well, I know I can do that well without it taking over things like my study.
Yep.
So I know I can really juggle the
well,
two
you're competent with it, right?
Competent, very, very competent. And just, it's kind of like a language, when it comes to skills. So when it comes to my filming, I want to make sure that I show up to filming the best I possibly can. So this trimester is almost done, and the amount of work that is expected of us and the level of work and all that sort of stuff, I'm putting in these massive, massive days at uni to make sure that I show up well for that. Because like we've just talked about, I want to make sure that I'm being my best and I'm like showing up and making people proud and make myself proud and like doing the best I can. So when it comes to this work, what's next for me is I really want to explore everything I possibly can when it comes to being amongst the film industry. So that has been like liking all these Facebook groups in terms of like Brisbane filmmaking or Gold Coast filmmaking or whatever, in terms of filmmaking, like reaching out to people and being like, hey, can I do your social media? Can I make a video for you like I did for that bearded product? Just things like that. So I want to...
You're getting after it, man. You're a fucking go-getter.
It's been so good because actually not last year, the year before, doing something like that, it would be like, no, that's not training. I don't want to do it. That's not fitness. Like that's not CrossFit. I don't want to do it. Now it's like, okay, cool. I got fitness and I got,
film and creativity,
creativity and social media. And I've got other things like it's so good now to open myself up and actually really just engage with everything that I can, that Brisbane has to offer and everything that within it, and it's been really good in terms of like broadening those horizons and not just sticking in my ways like some sort of grumpy old man. So
if you could go back, this has popped to mind, but if you could go back to see how old were you when you started butchering?
17, right out of school.
Wicked. If you could go back to your 17-year-old self, what would the conversation look like?
It'd be a very, very difficult conversation because in the road since becoming an adult or on the way to being a man, when I graduated school, I had a very rude awakening coming out of school, being like, I haven't got to go to school anymore. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I originally was going to go to the army, but I'm deaf in my right ear. So that plan fell through. So that's what landed me in butchering. Because I was like, I need a job. I'm going to go find a job in butchering. But the terms of like what I found important back then and the things I got after back then in terms of like getting into debt, partying a lot, like getting into a lot of drugs and alcohol and just not being a good person that my parents expected me to be and how I wanted to be perceived. I think the conversation could just be like, I don't know, it's hard to say because like obviously those mistakes and decisions led me to where I am today, and a lot of shit that happened I wish didn't happen, but if it didn't happen, would I be who I am today? The conversation probably would just be, don't buy my car. Don't get in that debt.
Don't get into the debt.
And a $30,000 car that cost me $85,000.
Fuck.
Yeah. So,
well done, sir. I think when I think about that question, you're exactly right, because a lot of our experiences, the adversity we've overcome, have shaped us who we are today. But for me, it's just like, you're worthy. Like you'll be good. Like just fucking hold on, mate. It's going to be a fucking wild ride. And even for all of us moving forward, fuck me, I'm flying at the moment, as are you. But you don't know what's around the corner, so giddy up and get on with it.
That's right. And it's funny. I think back to when I was 17, I ended up moving into a mate's place, right?
Yep.
And I was just started working, so I was only earning like maybe $250 a week.
Yep.
So I was like rent and bed groceries, whatever.
Yep.
And he ended up being like, "Oh, hey, by the way, this isn't actually a house that's like under contract with the real estate. This is actually a house that someone owns that just lets us live here." And okay, righto. He moved out. And then the power got cut off because the power was in his name.
He wasn't paying the power. And I'm there. I came home one day and all the groceries in the fridge were rotten and then like all the freezer defrosted. And I didn't have any money to pay the power bill. So I was too egotistical and prideful that I ended up living in a house with no power for like fucking 4 days. Really?
Yeah. Before I got paid again, then I paid the power bill. And then I was like, cool, we got power now.
Did you have enough to buy groceries?
No.
Fuck, so you had a fresh fridge going.
Fresh fridge, nothing in it. And I was like, I was going to work and they would be like offcuts from the butcher shop. And I'd be like, I'm taking that. Like, that's mine. Don't fucking touch it. Like,
anyone touches it, your hand's going. Your
just
hand
about, like, I'm hungry. And I remember like, I was like buying like just bags and bags of rice and frozen veggies and mince. Like that was all I ate for like 6 months until I started earning some good money at the butcher shop. Yeah.
I did a challenge once for charity. It was like called Live Below the Line or something like that. You had to survive on $2 a day. And this was when I was playing footy as well.
Yeah, right.
And the footy is like, you can't do that. I'm like, I was doing it too because my ex-missus was doing it. I was like, I'll do this to impress her. And man, it was fucking hard. I was just living off rice and lentils, I think it was. But my energy after the first training session back, I was just done. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So they didn't actually allow me to play on the weekend, which sucked. So big sacrifice back then.
Yeah.
But good lesson learned.
Yeah.
How do you maintain such a strong and positive mindset?
I think knowing what I've endured and where I'm at now, like I compare the two. I compare the two of like, say, working 60 plus hours a week at the butcher shop, or I compare going to a job with a toxic boss, with clients who are just difficult. And I was too young or too inexperienced to work with, and just all these expectations of myself compared to now with a good head on my shoulders where I know what my direction is going to be. I'm studying and I'm very passionate about studying. I'm happy to put in those 12 plus hour days at the campus. Things like, going to work this morning and then going home and then making phone calls, making cold calls, doing programming, which is like not paid, but I'm happy to do it. Like I want to do it. So I want to reach out to those people and I want to make that change in their life and be that person that they expect me to be, which is a good trainer and professional. So when I
love that,
when it comes to keeping a positive mindset, it's like, hang on a minute. Like I said before, like I feel like I haven't really been my own proper self until the last 6 months. Now I'm owning that. Now I'm like, cool, I am myself now. I'm doing me. I'm ripping into it and I'm not regretting anything. Like I'm just keen for the future. And I know it's all going to be building towards a fucking awesome future, which I'm so keen for.
Fuck yeah. You got me pumped up. I'm sure the boys are getting fucking goosebumps.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope that was the point. Yeah.
Fucking nice. But that's, mate, you've taken ownership for your life. You've decided and around who you want to be as a man. And you've set the standard and you're fucking acting on it. Like it's super simple. And you're getting after it, which is awesome. Final question, because this time has flown. We're at,
oh shit.
I know, man. We've blown it out of the water. What's your definition of being a man?
I think being I actually had a feeling you're going to ask this question, and I love the definition or my own definition of making the mistakes and letting it grow you into a person who you didn't think you could be at the time, or someone who you like, okay, cool, I value getting into debt, or I value drugs and alcohol, to now being like, I value being a man who is the best husband or the best son or the best father. Like I value that because I feel like growing up, I saw a lot of that. I was exposed to a lot of that. So when I wasn't that and I was like, shit, am I even a man?
Yep.
And now that I'm getting old, like end of my 20s, I'm 28 now. I value that so much more, and I think about being a man is just being the one that shows up and that and just can add that level of security and that safety, you know, to the situation or to anyone who needs it.
Yeah.
And I love that definition with the way that I define it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I love it. Thanks
Cool.
for sharing that, man.
Yeah, most welcome.
I think we'll wrap up now, but mate, for me, it's been a privilege being able to watch you grow over the last couple of years. And I couldn't agree more with you that the last 6 to 7 months has really been like, you know, you think about a plane taking off, you've just hit fucking jet fuel and just gone to a whole new level. And how you conduct yourself, your professionalism, and even the way you communicate is really inspiring. And it makes me want to hold myself to a higher standard. And I'm sure there's a lot of blokes, I already know a lot of guys in the academy love your energy, and also will be inspired now that they know more about your story. It's always cool learning about people's stories. But if you guys want to find Mitchie, obviously join the academy. I might take you for a steak and talk you all through it. But where else can people find you, Mitchie?
I'm mainly just on Instagram, so just like Mitch.Lippy.
Mitch Lippy bastard. No,
fuck that guy. Yeah. But I've only just started getting into like posting more now. Like I never used to be much of a poster, but now I'm like keen to post more and do more and
share value.
Yeah, literally.
But also another, as Mitchie said, he's keen to learn and grow in the film and editing space. So if anyone's in the film or editing space, or you need socials looked at, or, you know, he's editing the podcast now, so you'll get to watch this before it goes out, mate. Enjoy.
Don't judge me too harshly.
Reach out to Mitchie as well, because it's something that you heard what he was like talking about his steaks is the exact same with film. So get amongst it. But mate, thank you for coming on. Thanks for all the value, and it's been awesome. Thank you so much for having me, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great.
What an episode. How cool is Mitch? I'm excited to have him on again in a few weeks' time, but definitely if you got value from him or related to his story, reach out to him. I'm sure he would love to hear from you. And guys, before you head off, if you got value, please take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and review. It helps more men see and trust your opinion that this podcast is worth listening. This podcast has the conversations that men need to hear to improve their life. So if you can do one thing today, make sure it's going to help you be better for tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lockie Stewart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.